Have you ever felt like the world doesn't care? Like no matter what you do, how hard you try, no one seems to notice, to appreciate, to value you? The more you give, the less they take. The more you bend, the more they break you. And you laugh, because it's funny, isn't it? The way the world works. Oh, they love you when you're harmless, when you're weak, when you're begging for scraps. But the second you start asking for more, demanding more, that's when the masks come off. They don't just ignore you, they reject you. It's almost poetic, really. A ghost wandering through a crowd too busy admiring their own reflection to even notice yours. But here's the punchline. They don't care about you. They never did. Not until you become something they can't control. Not until you become a monster. You know the feeling, don't you? Those moments when you let someone in, showed them your vulnerabilities, hoping they'd see you, understand you. You opened the door, bared your soul, and what did they do? They turned away, left you there, exposed, broken. You see, people don't respect kindness. They don't value patience. What they value is strength. Raw, unapologetic strength. The kind that doesn't beg, doesn't plead, doesn't bend. They only start to care when you rise above them, when you stop playing by their rules, when you become something they fear. That's the secret, isn't it? The world loves a monster. Oh, they'll never admit it, but deep down, they crave it. Because monsters don't ask for permission. They don't wait for validation. They take, they conquer, they become. The best part? The moment you stop needing their approval is the moment you start living. The nights you spent questioning your worth, the days chasing validation that never came, it all fades because you realize the only person you need to impress is the one staring back at you in the mirror. And that's when the transformation begins, not into a villain. No, no, no. That's too easy, too simple. You don't become a villain. You become inevitable. You become unstoppable. You become the monster they never saw coming. But let's get one thing straight. Being a monster isn't about being cruel. It's not about breaking others to feel whole. No, it's about embracing who you are, all of it. The good, the bad, the jagged edges they tried to sand down. It's about refusing to apologize for existing, for taking up space, for demanding more. They'll hate you for it. Oh, they'll despise you, because when you rise, you shine a light on everything they're not. You become a mirror they can't look away from. And people hate mirrors that show them the truth. But here's the beauty of it all. Their hate doesn't matter. Their opinions don't matter. The only thing that matters is that you've stopped hiding. You've stepped into your power, and there's no going back. Think about it. When was the last time someone truly saw you, really looked at you and didn't just see what they wanted to see? It's been a while, hasn't it? But here's the thing. They'll start to notice. They'll start to care. Not because they suddenly love you, but because you've become impossible to ignore. Oh, they'll talk, whisper behind your back, call you arrogant, cold, ruthless, and maybe you'll laugh. Maybe you'll even agree, because they're not wrong. You're not the person you used to be. You're stronger now, and sharper. You've built walls they can't climb, forged armor they can't pierce. And here's the kicker. They'll respect you for it. They'll hate it, but they'll respect it. Because deep down, they know they would have done the same thing, if they had the guts. But being a monster, it's not a destination. It's a journey, a process. It's waking up every day and choosing to fight, to endure, to rise, It's deciding that you'll never shrink yourself again to make others comfortable. They'll try to pull you back, you know. Oh, they'll try. They'll say you've changed, that you've lost yourself. But you'll know the truth. You didn't lose anything. You found yourself. And they can't stand it. Do you know why? Because your very existence becomes their reminder of their failures, their fears, their limits. And oh, how people hate to be reminded. But you don't owe them comfort. You don't owe them a version of you that's easy to swallow. You owe yourself everything. And so, as their whispers grow louder, as their stares linger longer, you'll feel it, the pull to revert, to shrink back into the shadows. But resist it, because monsters don't fade, they rise, and your rise is far from over. So what's next? What happens when you've risen, when you've become the thing they can't ignore? Simple. You keep going. You adapt. You evolve. Because the moment you stop moving is the moment they'll try to drag you down. But you won't let them. You've come too far. You've sacrificed too much. The sleepless nights, the doubts, the pain. It wasn't for nothing. It was the price of becoming. And now, you're here, unapologetic, unstoppable, a monster they'll never forget. You see, monsters aren't born. They're made, forged in fire, shaped by pain. And you're the masterpiece they never saw coming. They thought they could break you, silence you, erase you. But all they did was teach you how to roar. Now, the world, it's your stage, your playground. And oh, the irony. The same people who tried to bury you will now gather to watch you rise. They'll clap, they'll cheer, but deep down, they'll know. You're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you, for the ghost you used to be, for the nights you cried alone, for the times you begged to be seen. You've burned that old version of yourself to ashes, and from those ashes, you've risen. So go ahead, laugh. Laugh at their confusion, their fear, their envy, because the joke's on them. They thought they could write your story, but the pen, it was always in your hand. You're not just a monster. You're a legend in the making, a force they can't deny, a storm they can't weather. But here's what they don't tell you about becoming legendary. The higher you rise, the harder they'll try to drag you back down. The crown you fought for, it comes with a price. Let's break this down, shall we? Power doesn't inspire loyalty. It breeds resentment. It's not a crown you wear with pride. It's a target painted on your back. The vultures don't care how hard you worked for it. They're circling, waiting for your slip. Protecting your power isn't just a game, it's survival. You see, power is never static. It's like holding fire in your hands. Keep it close, and it warms you. But loosen your grip, even for a moment, and it will burn you alive. The world doesn't hand out mercy to those at the top. It tests them relentlessly. And the test isn't in the battles you've already won. It's in the battles you don't see coming. Complacency? That's the silent killer, the invisible blade waiting to strike. The moment you bask in your victories, the shadows start moving. The hyenas, the critics, the ones who smiled when you were weak, they'll all come for you. So, don't stop sharpening your claws. Don't stop watching your back. Because the war doesn't end when you win. The real war begins when everyone else wants to see you fall. But raw strength won't save you. Oh no, that's the lie they tell the fools. Power isn't about how hard you hit. It's about how well you can think. It's a game of chess where every piece is rigged against you. You need to be 3 steps ahead, always. Outmaneuver, outwit, and outlast. A lion doesn't rule the jungle by being the strongest. It rules because it knows when to strike, when to wait, and when to tear its enemies apart. And yet, here's the cruel truth. Power isn't enough. Not unless you evolve. You see, the world, it doesn't stop spinning just because you've reached the top. The moment you stop growing, it'll crush you under its weight. You must become something new, something more, again and again. A monster that doesn't just rise, but adapts, mutates, transforms. Evolution isn't an option, it's a necessity. But evolution isn't painless. Growth, it demands sacrifice. The higher you climb, the lonelier it gets. People you once trusted will fade away, unable to keep up. Their footsteps will grow fainter, their voices quieter, until one day they're gone. You'll look around and realize the only company you have is your shadow. Painful? Yes, but necessary. Not everyone can survive the altitude, and those who can't, they'll do everything in their power to drag you back down. And let's not forget the traitors. Oh, they'll come, with smiles on their faces, honey on their tongues, and knives hidden behind their backs. They'll shake your hand while plotting your downfall. Trust? That's a luxury for the naive. In this game, you don't trust words. You trust patterns, actions. People will tell you what they want you to hear, but their movements, their choices, those will reveal who they truly are. But enough about them. Let's talk about you. The monster within you isn't just your strength, it's also your curse. It whispers in your ear, promising power, control, domination. But left unchecked, it'll consume you. It'll turn your ambition into arrogance, your power into poison. You must master it, control it. Because if you don't, it'll destroy you faster than any enemy ever could. Ah, but mastery isn't enough, is it? You think you're invincible? Think again. Every monster has a weak spot. And yours? It's thinking you don't have one. Overconfidence will crack your foundation faster than any external force. The solution? Know your flaws. Acknowledge them. Not to wallow in self-pity, no, that's for the weak, but to fortify yourself, to turn those cracks into unbreakable armor. Because a true monster isn't perfect, it's prepared. And then there's fear. Oh, fear. Most people run from it, hide from it, pretend it doesn't exist. But you'll embrace it. Let it course through your veins. Fear isn't your enemy, it's your ally. It sharpens your instincts, heightens your senses, and pushes you to the edge of your potential. Every time you face it, you grow. Every time you overcome it, you evolve. Fear is the forge, and you are the weapon being shaped by its fire. But let's not romanticize this journey. The path of power is brutal. You'll face betrayal, heartbreak, and isolation. The world will throw everything it has at you, and then some. But you'll smile through the pain. Not because it doesn't hurt, but because you understand the truth. Pain is the price of progress. The scars you carry, they're not weaknesses. They're proof that you've survived what others couldn't. And that's the secret, isn't it? The world doesn't care about the wounds you bear, the sacrifices you've made. They only see the monster you've become. And the irony? The very people who once ignored you will now fear you, envy you, hate you. But their hatred, it's fuel. Their envy, it's confirmation that you've become something greater than they ever imagined. So here we are. The choice is yours. Will you let the world break you, tame you, reduce you to a shadow of your potential? Or will you rise, not just as a monster, but as a force of nature, relentless, unstoppable, undeniable? Because in the end, the world only respects one thing: power. And power doesn't apologize. It doesn't beg for acceptance or approval. It takes what it wants unapologetically. So ask yourself, what kind of monster will you be? The one who rises and falls like the rest? Or the one who rises and never comes back down? The clock is ticking. The world is watching. And the monster within, it's waiting for your move.